Welcome back from the Christmas break. It seems a long time ago now, but we've got 2020 ahead of us. I'll open the meeting with the acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of the land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture connection to lands, their living culture and a unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. I believe there's no public access or question. Apologies. We have one apology from Councillor Simpson. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Morrissey, second. Councillor Hayes. All those in favour? Carried. Mayoral minute. There's no mayoral minute, but I'd like to just take this opportunity to mention that this month is 20 years since the formation of Richmond Valley Council. And I would like to take a moment to recognise this and by reading sections of the proclamation of many years ago. It said, I, the Honourable Gordon Samuels AC, Governor of the State of New South Wales, declare that on the 21st of February 2000, the areas of Casino and Richmond Valley are to be amalgamated so as to constitute a new area having the name, the area of Richmond Valley, and declare that the boundaries of the area of Richmond Valley are the same as the combined boundaries of the former area of Casino and former area of Richmond River. Declare that the provisions set out in the schedule to this proclamation are to apply on and from the 21st of February 2000 to the amalgamation effected by this proclamation. Signed and sealed in Sydney this 9th day of February 2000. There's many sections and definitions, but relates to the first election. The date of the first election of councillors of the new council is the 3rd of June 2000. There's mention of wards. The wards of the former area of Richmond Valley are abolished, and the new council is to hold on the 2002 a constitutional referendum to determine whether the electors approve of the new area being divided into wards. That happened and was lost. Continuation of office of councillors of the former council. Number of councillors to be elected to the new council at the first ordinary election is 10. The new council is to hold by 2002 a constitutional referendum to determine whether the electors approve of a change of a number of councillors. The first council, the interim council after the amalgamation, had 16 councillors. In 2000, as the proclamation said, it was 10. In 2004, it was reduced to 9, and in 2012, it was reduced to 7. Also on the proclamation elected a mayor, the following first election, the new council is to hold by 2002 a constitutional referendum to determine whether the electors approve of a change in the basis on which the mayor attains the office. The popular elected mayor was determined and carried very strong by our community. Other parts of the proclamations were activities of the former council, delegations, codes and policies and plans, fees, organisation structure, transfer of staff, transfer of assets, rights and liabilities, council records and reports, auditors, reference to former areas of councils, the county councils, and statement of intent. So I just thought I'd bring that to everyone's, I think, 20 years. It's very good. And during those 20 years, there's been some 4 mayors, 30 different councillors, and 4 general managers. And many staff, some short-term employment and some for over the 20 years. And I notice that staff member Rosalind Towns is here. She's been with the council for that since the time, so it's very good to see Rosalind here. A couple of the major accomplishments that I'd like to mention is the upgrade of the sewer and connection of Evanshead, Woodburn and Broadwater. That was at a cost of over 30 million, and the other ones are in the term of this council, the Northern Rivers Livestock Exchange at 14 million. So over the years, amalgamations are not easy, and Richmond Valley Council has had its challenges over the years, but I believe council is a progressive, forward-thinking and responsible organisation and financially sound. I'd like to thank ratepayers, residents, staff, councillors and mayors for their contribution to making our local government area so prosperous. So thank you, councillors and everyone in the room. I don't know if anyone else would like to say anything, but I think 20 years it's worth mentioning that we are 20 years old. Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you. Page 6, item 6, minutes of the order of meeting held on the 18th of December, confirmation. Could I get someone to move a recommendation, please?
Move that way.
Second.
Councillor Humphries and Councillor Hayes. Put that motion, all those in favour? Carried. 6.2, minutes of the Internal Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 4th of February 2020. Let's move it, please.
Move that way.
Seconder?
A second.
Cornish. All those in favour? Carried. Minutes arising out of those. Has anyone got any from those two meetings? None. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? Nil. Petitions? Nil. Notice of motion. I'll move my arrears report. If I can get a seconder, please. Any questions or...
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just one.
One.
Yeah. You're lucky it's New Year. On the 22nd of January, the Momentive Collective discussion. Have a bit of a rundown on that, please.
Yeah, what was it about? Oh, yeah, I got it. Yep. Actually, it started out to be a meeting originally, but it ended up being a phone hookup. So they just, they're looking to establish some emergency accommodation for women, domestic violence, and there's no emergency accommodation, so they just wanted a letter of support from council so they can seek some funding for it. So,
Thank you.
that's delegates report. There's one delegate report there. Can I get a mover, please?
Move that way.
I'll second it. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lyon.
I just was wondering, as you're aware, I was with the Richmond River Governance, and I find this quite, I was just wanting to know why this policy was revoked, because shouldn't it be maintained in a way to reduce any sort of negative impacts on the river? So what's been put in place to, instead of this management guideline, has there been any feedback with the community, and what's seeing, Soaring Rouse is set up as a flood mitigation and it's still on their website as such. The community's flood mitigation system should still be set in place as per the New South Wales Flood Developer Guidelines and the New South Wales Fisheries Management Act and the New South Wales Local Government Act. So basically what's been put in place instead of that? Who prepared and asked for the report? Are we able to get a copy of the report? Why was this decision made? because of, you know, the position that Rouse is, they're supposed to be an active floodgate manager as well as flood mitigation. And was it supported by DPI, Fisheries and other relevant agencies? Yeah, just took an interest because of the position.
I'll take that question on notice because there's a lot of questions in there.
There is.
So if you could give me that to me after the meeting, please, I'll find those answers out and get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. With the droughts and all the stuff we've been going through over the last 12 months or 2 years or whatever, with the standpipes in here, they've got expansion of water fill station network within Rouse Water. What is the setup with carriers coming to Casino or coming into our water supply, Casino's water supply, and filling up and transporting it out of the area? Is that part of the deal? Is it up to each individual contractor, or is there licence agreements to be able to?
I think as long as they, correct me please, Mr General Manager, if they go out to their water filling station at the waste centre, they if they pay the money, they're right.
I'm happy to add to that there's a couple of water carters that have their own standpipe and meter. But generally the other new, and obviously through the drought we had some new entrants into that market as well, and they utilise the Namuna facility as well. But there's no specific control. I think you mentioned something about going out of area. There isn't a specific control as to where the water goes, but we certainly know that a lot of it, they pay the commercial rate. And go where there's demand. Obviously, if we put a restriction on it into the Richmond Valley, that'd constrain their business quite a bit. Because, for example, I know that they head out the Bruxner towards Tabulum and other areas, and it is the most efficient water supply for people who live in those areas. So, there's obviously a limit to the viability of how far you can transport that to, and that water is generally used for residential potable purposes, although there was the need for some carrying for stock purposes.
Thank you.
The reason, one of the reasons Rouse put the extra ones in was because some of the big trucks were taking an hour to fill up because it was just a line-up of small thousands, so they fixed that. So, any other questions? Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Matters determined without debate, page 15. Has any got any matters they'd like to call?
Uh, 16.3, 17.3. That's me.
All right, I've got 14.1, 14.2 and 15.1. So, any other ones? No? So that, I believe that leaves us to adopt 15.2, 15.3, 16.1, 16.2, 17.1, 17.2, 17.4, 17.5.
I'll call 15.2 as well, please.
16.2?
15. 15.2.
15.2.
Yeah, I've just got a question.
So 15.3, 16.1, 16.2, 17.1, 17.2, 17.4, 17.5. Okay, can I get a mover, please?
Second.
Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Can I just get another show of hands, please? I didn't see, some didn't go up. Thank you. Unanimous. So we'll move over to page 16. The recommendation there, I'll move that. And get a seconder, please. Well, first of all, I think this is the delivery program progress report from July 2009 to December 2009. I think this is a very positive report where 80% of our tasks are on target, on schedule, and there's only 3% that are not on schedule, so or behind schedule. So, Mr. General Manager, I might get you to make a couple of comments, if that's all right, on those, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so in the delivery program progress report, so those ones that are the 3%, which are the purple, which are the behind schedule. If you go through your report, you'll find those on so page 6. There's one there which is sports field irrigation. Certainly something that was being considered last year, and but obviously now we've had the rain that we've had, not quite as pressing, but it is something that we need to get in place. So we will be continuing that. We have had a vacancy in that part of the business, so that is something that we're in the process of recruiting right at the moment, and we'll get someone, and then that will become an area we need to have a look at and decide whether the investment in irrigation is something that council can sustain, because it's certainly, there is a fair investment in that. But obviously over the last 12 months our sporting fields certainly did suffer during the drought, so that will be progressed. Similarly on page 8, there's a few items there in our open spaces, facilities and cemeteries area that we again will get onto, and we'll be looking at those over the rest of this financial year and next financial year, which is the term of this delivery program. So we will certainly be doing those, just delayed from what our original plan was. And I think there may have been one more. There's a couple more. So on page 20, there was the Opening Doors Development Project. Under that terminology, that's not progressing, but we've responded to that through the position of development concierge, and also recently the boost in resources in our development and planning area has certainly assisted the aims of that project, which was really about how we respond to developments. The other thing that we're doing at the moment is reviewing our development assessment panel policy, and that will be coming to you at the next workshop for discussion, and then to the following meeting. So that policy is due for review. That's how we handle development under my delegation that's come from council. So there'll be an opportunity for you all to have a comment on that, and we'll update that. The other page 21, contributions plan review. So that's something that our assets team are working on, and in conjunction with our planning area, to make sure that that contributions plan is updated in line with our long-term and asset management plans, so that we are utilising the revenue we get from Section 94 contributions effectively. And again, at the appropriate time when we've got that work ready, we will workshop that with you before putting it to council, to make sure you have the opportunity to provide input. And then on page 35, there's the item to draft a long-term strategic plan for the current animal shelter. That's not proposed to carry that out in the current financial year, but it is something that we plan to do in the next financial year, the 2021 financial year. The current animal shelter is serving our current purposes, but there is the potential that standards for those facilities may increase. It's something that's sort of been talked about across the local government sector, so that may be something that I suppose emerges as we need to do something about that. So it is something that's worthwhile us reviewing. We obviously do a lot of good work out of there, both in managing those animals who end up in our control, but also in minimising euthanasia rates for the animals that do end up in our animal shelter. So that's something we'll look at in the 2021 financial year. So that's just an overview of some of those ones that are in that purple area.
Thank you. I noticed a couple of the red ones too. We refer to the coordinator for open spaces position to be filled. When will that be filled, do you think?
So we're currently in the recruitment process as we speak. So obviously with these things, depending on the most suitable applicant and them obviously accepting the role and whether they're in a current position, that can still be a month to 2 months. But obviously and probably one of the things, that's not the only reason really because we've got someone acting in the role, Lucas Salmon, and he's doing a really good job. But Lucas has spent a significant part of the last 3 months working with tree consultant businesses doing the natural disaster work. So he's had to oversee that work of going across our rural road network and making them safe and doing a lot of clearing along road reserves. So Lucas has been very busy with that project and that continues. So it has impacted on, I suppose, his ability to look at some of the more strategic projects in our open spaces area.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a bit
Councillor
of housekeeping.
Hay?
The on page 17 in the agenda, the red and the purple are round the wrong way. In your little wagon wheel there. Like one of those things on the paper, spot the difference. See down in the underneath, it's got red's not progressing and purples, and
just
then
the
you go
wrong.
down further, it's the other way around.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've swapped around over there. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get that fixed, thanks. I was looking at it because they're both at 3%, so I was
Yeah, they're both 3%.
confused.
But I do have a question. On page of the report, on page 31, okay, there's the investigate an alternative water source for water supply security to casino in emergencies, and I see there that we've got funding was secured for the investigation, which will commence in February, which is underway, I assume. Was that the $80,000 we got? Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yep, and it has commenced.
So when that report comes back, it'll have ideas of how we can store water here in casino, access water in drought and stuff like that.
See what's feasible, what the options are,
Yep.
and I suppose obviously then some indication of the cost.
Yeah, so that was the next thing. So when we get that, there'll be a cost involved. The difference in headworks charges from the lower river to casino, is there some way there that you can pull them into line to every time you pick up an ET, you collect the extra headworks to put away for that kind of work in the future? Is that a possible funding scenario for that?
We'd have to have a look at that, but that's something we can look at.
See, casino, I don't think casino has a Rouse water contribution.
No, they don't. But when you add up the contributions per ET,
That's a different.
The lower river pays about $1,700 more than what's paid up here. I'm just wondering if you brought that into line, because it only affects developers, people that are actually adding an ET somewhere along the line.
You're suggesting we increase the casino component to be the
Bring
same
that
as
to the
Evan
same.
said?
Yeah, then everything's the same. You've got that money to put away because that money will be spent in casino, I'd assume. To
boost the casino water supply.
No good to us because we're on Rouse water. Yeah.
That's something that can be looked at in the future.
Yep, we can have a look at it.
Thank you.
Any other councillors? I did mention earlier that we're at 80% on schedule, but I failed to mention this 10% completed, so that's 90%, so we're going pretty well. So I just congratulate you, Mr General Manager, and all the staff for this positive outcome, so well done. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. 14.2, the Local Government Superannuation Additional Contributions Request. I'll move that recommendation.
Second.
Councillors, I think this is a very important issue to this council. This extra funding of $215,000 is roughly half of what our percentage of our special rate variation extra is. So we go through all that hard yakka consulting our community, and then we're sending half away to the superannuation fund. So I just think this this needs to be sent, this letter, and show them that we are concerned over it and what is going to happen in the future, because there's been now 40 million over 10 years. That's 400 million of extra going to this superannuation fund, and to me it's a bit like the banks. I think it's just, if they need it, it's come from mismanagement, because a lot of the other superannuations don't, and I see they gave a leave of having to pay a holiday, but to me that's bad management, and I just think it's going to have impacts on councils if it doesn't come to an end. So, any other councillors?
Oh,
Sorry,
you go.
just a question. The staff that are entitled to that, in that superannuation or that part of that fund, how long before they all get out of here?
Before they want?
How much runoff have we got?
Well, it all depends when they retire. That's
Yeah, I know, but if they retire at whatever the retirement age is, how many years is it going to take us to get away from it?
don't know. That's a question we're asking him. How long is it going to go on for?
I think there is a figure in here around, is it 1990? I think was when the defined benefit scheme finished. So, you know, you can basically put a scenario that, you know, I'd have to check that it was 1990, that's the figure that's in my mind, whether it's in this or some other information that was provided, but you'd have to say at that point in time our youngest employee who may have had the benefit of that was 18. They then work potentially till there by the time they get there, 70, 75, the way things are heading. So, you know, potentially looking at 50 years. So you're looking at, well, there's 2040. So we're going to have potentially, you know, another 20 years. Obviously, the numbers may decline over that period of time. So, yeah, look, it's, you know, it's just, you know, you can say it's another 215,000. So it's just another payment we have, and that's on top of what we have to pay. So these are additional contributions. We did get coincidentally an email came through from local government super yesterday. Obviously, they have been copying similar concerns from a lot of councils, and they have made, or they did make the decision to get a review done of the scheme. I'm happy to forward this email to you, but it's actually quite a long email. That goes through the you know, the outcome of the review that they've had done, and the need for ongoing scheme funding, and why the additional support's necessary, and basically comes to the conclusion that no, we need to continue levying it, and we will do so, and you will have to pay. So it was a fairly long-winded way of saying steady as she goes. But I think it's important from my perspective that council keeps these sorts of issues on the agenda and raises them in the appropriate forums, so that those who are on the board of these sorts of organisations are held accountable.
I actually, a lot of them been a long time councillors in the local government sector, and personally I question their ability to run an organisation like this. And they make a statement like the local government super advisor scheme is now in a satisfactory financial position. So why are they asking for more money? You know, so it just leads more to my suspicions. Actually, I just don't think they're up to the job. Anyway, any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Carried. (15.1). I believe we have a presentation from Mr. Gator on the quarterly budget review statement for the quarter ended 31st December 2019. Mr. Gator.
Okay, a snapshot as at this end of December of this year's budget. The budget unrestricted cash surplus has remained unchanged at $240,000 surplus. The use of restricted funds has decreased from just over $5 million in deficit to $4.711 million in deficit, so a reduction of around $330,000. Net operating result, including capital items, improved from a $36,000 surplus through to a $1.42 million surplus, an improvement of $1.38 million. And net operating result before capital items has improved from a $5.12 million deficit to a $3.75 million deficit, a difference of $1.37 million. The recommended changes for income. We've had $134,000 in increased library funding, $596,000 in insurance monies received for the Ratville Hall, $800,000 increase in royalties from Peterson's Quarry. We've had higher than anticipated extraction from Quarry Solutions there. $200,000 income from the sale of biosolids at the NRLX. $62,100 increase in sales fees at the NRLX due to an increase in throughput. $90,000 increase in private works income. This just brings our private works budgets in line with our actuals. $40,000 from New South Wales Health towards electrical expenses on the Health 1 land subdivision for upgrades we had to do there for electrical. $129,000 in real estate development asset sales. $90,000 in income from neighbouring councils towards a waste regional growth strategy. I left the waste out there, I'm sorry. So there's 9 other councils as well as Richmond Valley involved in that, and the strategy is actually going to cost $100,000. So 10 grand from each council plus 10 grand from us. $42,000 increase in WHS incentives payments received.
I'll just add in there, Ryan, that waste project, there's also a contribution of around $60,000 from the New South Wales Government.
Expenditure, we've got $90,000 in increased library operational expenditure between both our libraries and Kyogle. $44,500 increase in library capital expenditure. $160,000 in expenses for processing the biosolids at the NRLX. So that should give us around a $40,000 profit, that new side business at the NRLX. $111,000 increase in salaries at the NRLX. This is to finalise the upgrade and assist with maintenance, extra maintenance at the facility. Just over $54,500 increase in maintenance and repair budgets at the NRLX. And $232,000 transferred from reserves to finalise the administration building upgrade at the NRLX. That was part of a council resolution back in our March 2009 ordinary meeting. $143,500 in capital expenditure to finalise the move from the Living Museum. That was transferred out of real estate reserve. $100,000 for the development of the regional waste growth strategy. Nearly $445,000 for the refurbishment of the casino water treatment plant, and $245,000 for sewer treatment plant and pump station upgrades.
Ryan, what was the real estate income back on that other page, 129 or something? Where did that come from?
There was some industrial land sales with a major part of that, and there was one other small transaction for about 30 grand. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what it actually was. I think it was a rent fee or something we got that went into the real estate reserve.
Because just on the expenditure side, the funding for the Living Museum move obviously came from the sale of the land for the Health One. So when that money came in, goes in the real estate reserve. So then it's come back from there to cover that move. Yep.
Yep. Other changes, our total income from continuing operation increased by $2.112 million. That sits now at just over $67 million. Total expenses from continuing operation increased by $722,000. It sits at $65.7 million. Our loan fundings remain unchanged, and our capital expenditure increased by $1.89 million. So our capital expenditure program for this year sits at $24.035 million. 24.035 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 there any questions?
Any question, councillors?
Yes, Mr Mayor. The higher than anticipated extraction at Peterson's Quarry, what's that from?
So that's Quarry Solutions. They've got that the lease over the Petersons, and they pay us a royalty on anything they take out of there. And obviously, they must have upped the limits that they're taking out for the highway. So they give us projections every 3 months or so on how their extractions are going, and they thought this financial year, their extractions would have dropped. But as of halfway through the year, they're still going at the same rate they have in previous years. So we've budgeted for an extra 800,000 going on what they say that they're going to rip out of the ground there. So it's a good result.
Did we originally reduce our projections
For this
because
year we
that's
did.
their advice?
Yep.
And then they've kept going at the same
Correct.
level?
Yeah, this year we
Okay.
did, but they've continued. So
So we would think most probably next year and the next financial year it will start backing off then?
definitely, yeah.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think so.
Question? Yeah, right on page 31 in the business paper, on environmentally sustainable investments. Might be a silly question, but why does climate change, right, stop T Corp from investing or letting you know that they're investing in sustainable investments?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Why does climate change, or the prospects of climate change, stop T Corp from declaring where their money's invested? Why do they do that? Why wouldn't they come out and say that it's...
Councillor, you're in the wrong item. Yeah, you've gone over one.
Oh, sorry, I'll wait till next time. Think about that.
Yeah.
You've,
I might have to make a quick call to
you're on the item that you call, but he appreciates a forewarning of the question. Any other questions?
Not a question, just a comment. It's really impressive to have good news on projects and issues, even in the expenditure items. The NRLX, they're going gangbusters with their throughput, the 110. That biosolids is just an amazing, that process. I wouldn't mind perhaps having a comment on that. And the administration building. How good was it to have our information session and see how that's working and how they've got the new offices fitted out for the agents and all the computers happening out there. So, it's really good. But probably the most impressive thing there is that our estimated budget result is still sitting in the pocket of where we wanted it to be around that, well, it's 240, but we were saying we're hoping we'd always keep that around 230. So thanks very much. It's good
Just on the biosolids at the sale yards, it's not only the financial outcome, the positive result there, it's also an EPA requirement that we move that, so that's a good outcome for both ways. So it's good.
Just to add to that, it is a positive outcome, and we have, that's a conservative estimate, so we're hopeful that we might end up with a revenue of more than 40,000 clear. But obviously with, it's a new process, it's a pilot process, it's been developed with the support of EPA and DPI and also Rouse from a weeds management, because it's all to do with the tropical soda apple weeds. So it's been a legacy issue at the NRLX. It's built up over a long period of time. Manager there has found a solution that's going to provide a small return. So the other thing that the LLS confirmed today, that they will be moving into the new administration office. So that's good news as well.
Any other debate or questions? I haven't moved that, have I? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've had all our questions on the presentation, so I'll move that motion on page, or the recommendation on 24. Second, Councillor Lyons. Is there any other discussion? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. I think we're on to 16.3. 15.2, sorry. Thought we dealt that earlier. Councillor Hayes.
Just move that as written with the question.
Seconder. Councillor Humphries.
Want me to re-ask it?
Councillor Humphries.
Well, I haven't come up with an answer yet, so you can.
Can I just get clarification of the second? Was that Councillor Humphries? Yep.
Yeah, look, they've
right.
always run with this stewardship policy. They still stand by that. They haven't come up with a statement as of yet. We are getting good results out of T Corp at the moment. Their medium growth fund, you'll see in the report as of in the month of January, had nearly $197,000 fair value gain, which is, the month before it was a $40,000 loss. So they are performing well for us, those investments. But yeah, it would, I suppose, where we sit in our investments, it would be good to get a more formal statement out of them, but they are sticking with the stewardship policy at this point in time.
See, we could see ourselves in a situation 5 years down the track, and they're still telling us this, and we've been investing our money in sustainable sustainable stuff for that long, and we haven't known.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's only a comment. But, yeah.
Just make a comment that Mr. Gator closely touched on, but if you look on page 29, the December figures, it was equated to 62.7% of our budget, and within 1 month it's gone up to 81.47. That's a massive jump in 1 month. So that's going to put us, if it keeps on that track, it's going to be a long way over what our estimated budget was.
Yes, as you can see on page 31, that gives you the breakup for the actual month of January, and you'll see there that medium-term growth fund, the fair value gain for January 2020 was $69,512. So we actually, over all the T Corp investments, we had over $180,000 fair value gain for the month of January, which is probably the best month. I think if we went back and looked, it'd probably be the best month we've ever had.
It's outstanding. Any other speakers? Questions? Right, a reply? No. Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. 16.3 on page 48. Going to move it, please.
Yeah, move it as written.
Councillor
Second.
Hayes. Councillor Cornish seconding. Councillor Hayes.
Yeah, look, I'm all for the. I fully support the recommendation. I think with the swimming pools, I think we're in a very similar situation that we were with the NRLX a few years ago, and I'm of the opinion that if council do take on some kind of an overseer management role, with a new contractor, that we can work through the problems and get a result that favours everybody. I think it's the way to go, and I think that recommendation gives the general manager scope to get out and get that happening.
Mm.
Yeah, so.
Any other speakers?
Could I just ask for clarification? Is that the intent, for council to be the overseer of the contractor?
No, it's the intent, I believe, is for council to work with a new tenderer to finalise a contractor into the future.
Can I just clarify? What I was saying is the intent is to work with the contractor during the works on the casino pool, not beyond or before, but during that time. Gives us the opportunity to be able to help him through that period, or the tenderer. That's what I'm saying. Sorry.
Yep.
It'll be a very same sort of arrangement as previously, being a contract. The difference will be, for some reason, the previous one was a contract for each pool, but was done with one contractor. So the intent was to have all pools managed by the same contractor. That's certainly been our intent, and all along with our discussions, it obviously, it makes a lot of sense from council's perspective to manage these pools in one group. We went to tender on that basis, obviously following a lot of research and discussions that we've had over the last 12 months in reviewing how our pools have been operating and looking to the future. So we went to tender. We got 2 responses, as was reported prior to Christmas to you. Only one of those tenderers bid was to manage all 4 pools. So we knew that was a clear ideal of council. We've moved forward with negotiations with that tenderer, and they have been positive. And we are confident that this tenderer is in a good position to be ready to take over the management when we transition to that from the 1st of July. With any person who's taking on a new undertaking, they have to be ready, and this will give them some time, a period of a few months, to get those systems in place. But once the decision is made, they are then obviously in a position to invest. Whereas at the moment, without a decision being made, they're not going to invest in new systems and qualifications and getting in the support that is in their bid as to what they will do, so that they are ready to take on the management of the 4 pools. Obviously, the current contract finishes on 30 June, so they will move into obviously operating the Evans Head facility first, because it's a 365 days a year operation. They will also still have a couple of months to plan and be ready for the opening of the summer season at the other 3 pools.
Thanks very much, Mr. General Manager. That answered a couple of the questions that I had. And the main one that I have, because in our December meeting, it's got the paragraph 2 that the General Manager would enter into direct negotiations with any qualified contractor. So now we're saying that you've had your negotiations, and because one of the listed things is qualifications that these people are going to gain with their different systems. So we're quite confident that they will be qualified by that starting point. And it's, I mean, the staff have obviously, yourself and staff have worked pretty hard to get that business case. We now know that over a 2-year period, the council is better off having a contractor, and I don't believe that we've ever spoken about having a contractor that would look after any less than the 4 pools.
That's definitely been our goal, is to have someone manage the 4 pools. The contractor that we're negotiating with has a long history in swimming, and has been coaching, and is certainly keen to pursue that, and sort of fits with, I suppose, where we're heading with those facilities. Given the opportunity, he's very committed to getting the qualifications he needs to be able to start the operation, and then develop it from here. They also live in the Richmond Valley and the casino community.
Thank you for that.
Just a question, the General Manager. When you get to contract stage, will there be a clause in there in case one of the pools happen to close down in that contract period?
You contemplating the period of time with the casino pool being under construction, or also what if another pool over the period of time? Look, I'd have to check with our PMO who are managing that. I mean, it's something that we can put into a contract. There would be provisions in there where there are changes, and generally you do that by negotiation. But yeah, I'd have to. I don't know whether. I think it's something we can come back to you on as to how that scenario could be dealt with under the contract. One of the things we are looking at doing is having a shorter period of time for this contract. It's a 3-year contract with an option for 2. Yep. For 2. So, and the other thing that we're building into the terms is a review at the end of the first 12 months. So very much looking at a transparent relationship here with the contractor, where they are required to have a point of sale system in place, so that we'll have a very good indication of the revenue side of the business. So we'll be able to understand, when someone has a season ticket, and you pay a certain amount of money for a season ticket, how many times do they actually utilise that? So you'll be able to get a better feel for that side of things. So we'll be certainly looking at having that review at the end of the first 12 months.
Just to follow up on that question of Councillor Hayes, there is a dot point there. Both parties have acknowledged that the casino pool will be the subject of significant infrastructure upgrades which will require a close working relationship to minimise disruption to normal operations. So it's noted. I'd just like to make a couple of comments. There's been a bit of chatter on social media, and there's two things that I'd like to address. One was the transparency of this process, and I'd just like to mention that it was brought to the December Council Ordinary meeting, so it was there for everyone to see in open council. A part of that recommendation was that it come back to this council meeting, gave the General Manager the authority to go and negotiate with the most conforming tender, which he did. And it's back here in open council for everyone to see and hear. So if anyone wanted to come here tonight and join the gallery, they were quite welcome to. The other thing was the qualifications of this contractor. And on page 49 it reads, Council will undertake detailed due diligence to ensure the contractor has necessary systems in place by the 1st of July 2020, including, and there's a range of 10 dot points there, and they include accreditations, qualifications, health, safety, environment and quality management, training for policies, risk assessments, and it goes on and on. So Council is doing its due diligence and it's open and transparent to everyone. Any other?
Yes, Mr Mayor, just the key point for me is in the report, the last sentence above conclusion is Council is aiming to ensure that the community receives improved outcomes and services under the new arrangement.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Corney?
Yeah, just quickly, I think just to acknowledge that Council's already spent significant time and resource into getting this where it is now. Both parties have acknowledged that there's potentially significant disruptions involved with the proposed upgrade, but I think it's time to move this on and progress with the whole thing.
Thank you. Any one of the speakers? Right, a reply, Councillor? I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Unanimous? I've lost my bit of paper. I'm 17.3, is that correct, Councillor Hayes?
Just like to move the recommendation as written. I've just found a few mistakes in the document. That's all.
Second.
Second, Councillor Humphries. Councillor Hayes.
On page 18.
Of the document.
Yeah, of the document, sorry, yep. Dot point there, Reef meets beef, a culinary spin-off from Casino Beef Week festivities. We better scratch that. And page 32. They can't be much, I can't remember what they were. Oh, down the bottom there, it says a slump in the late 2000s. We haven't got there yet, have we?
Is that's meaning the late 20, like the late...
Yeah, this century.
The last part of the first decade.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit, yeah.
Meaning global financial crisis, which was in 2008. It says late 2000s, so that means...
Before 2010.
That means 29
Yeah, doesn't mean anything.
plus. That's a long way off. Feckle.
So really, I'm just saying, look, I read the document. I reckon it's a great document. It's been well prepared, and everything lines up with our our strategic plan and where we're heading. So it's a great document.
Well, if that's the only two things, that's pretty good. We've noted those changes, Mr. General Manager.
Those changes. Yeah.
Any other speak? Oh, Councillor Hayes, did you want to speak to it as a mover?
No, all good. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Right, a reply, no doubt. No. Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. We now move on to matters for information, page 69. I'll get a mover, please. Councillor Morrissey, seconder. Councillor Lyons. Has anyone got any matters, want to speak about the matters of information?
That report on the short-term holiday letting didn't really tell me anything, other than they done a report. I didn't get anything out of that. I don't know if anyone else. There was just facts and figures there based on about 30 phone calls. There was nothing. It wasn't a really good cross-section of the community, or they seem to ring a lot of B&B and, you know.
Maybe it doesn't relate so much to
Well, I don't think it does.
Richmond Valley compared to
I'm
other
thinking it
high
doesn't,
usage and visitation and tourist areas, so, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Morrissey, you right? Yep. I'll put that motion then. All those in favour? Carried. (19) on page 89. No questions on notice. Questions for the next meeting in writing? Do we have any? No. We now move to page 90. Matters referred to closed committee. I need a motion to go into closed committee. Councillor Morrissey. you read the recommendation, please?
So the resolution for item 21.1, which is dealt with in closed council, is that council enter into a 3-year contract with the option to extend for a further 2 years based on performance with the recommended supplier for insurance-related services and insurance cover as outlined in this report. The General Manager be authorised to negotiate and finalise the terms and conditions of any contract or agreement, including affixing the seal of council where necessary.
Thank you. That closes the meeting, and I wish everyone a safe trip home, and thank you for attendance.